In this video, we'll be seeing the graphical representation of PTA that we just saw in an example. This is not important from the exam point of view, but this will clear a lot of concepts about target cost, target fee, target profit, the PTA price, the selling price, and it is useful to know. So we have our case where target cost, target fee, target price, and sharing ratio, and the PTA was found to be $350,000. So in the first case, the target cost was $300,000. The actual cost is $300,000. So the cost overrun is 0. Buyer won't pay anything, seller won't pay anything. The final price that the buyer will pay is $330,000 and the seller is going to make $30,000 profit. Let us make a cost overrun of $10,000. Now the actual cost is $310,000, but the target cost is $300,000. So the cost overrun is $10,000 and the buyer is paying $6,000 and seller is paying $4,000 and the final price that buyer is paying is $330,000 plus this $6,000 extra, that is $336,000, and the seller profit is now reduced. Earlier it was $30,000. Now seller has to pay 40% of this $10,000, which is $4,000, and $30,000 minus $4,000 is $26,000 that the seller's profit margin is now. Let us take, it will go on, let us see at the PTA point. So at PTA there is a cost overrun of $50,000. Actual cost is $350,000. At PTA the final price is $360,000. That is where the ceiling price has been met. Buyer share and seller share are respectively $30,000 and $20,000, and the seller profit margin is $10,000. Now beyond PTA, let us say another overrun happened for $10,000. Mark what happens, $10,000 overrun. Now the actual cost is $360,000. So here the cost overrun is $60,000, but the buyer is not going to pay anything extra beyond PTA. So the buyer will be paying $30,000. So this $10,000 extra that will be paid by the seller. Because this $10,000 extra is paid, the seller profit margin is now 0. So that happens beyond PTA, and the selling price will remain as it is because the buyer won't be paying anything extra beyond $360,000. Let us take another $10,000 overrun. In that case, $70,000 overrun. Now the buyer will be paying $30,000, but the seller will be paying $40,000. So here it becomes minus $10,000. Again, if you go further $10,000, the loss is starting now, it's minus $20,000. So at PTA there is some minimal profit. Beyond PTA the profit is turning negative, or the seller is actually getting into losses. So this is how the seller profit is coming. If I put that into a diagram, so how it will look? In this diagram, in the x-axis we have the various cost related item. In this diagram we have, this is the profit, the seller profit that we have. So at $300,000, the cost, the profit was $30,000, right? And the total target price was, or total price was $330,000. When there is a cost overrun of $10,000, here at this point the profit margin shrank to $26,000. As we go on to $350,000, here the profit margin is $10,000, right? Beyond PTA, this is your PTA cost, this is the profit. Beyond PTA, at this point, at $360,000, the profit is 0. At $370,000, the loss is coming up at $10,000, minus $10,000. At $370,000, again the cost is going further and further. So here if you look at, we have two lines. One line is this one, till PTA, another line is this one, beyond PTA. Till PTA, the profit margin is slowly reducing, but beyond PTA, the profit margin is sharply reducing, turning into losses. So we have two lines, sharer line and the ceiling line. As I showed, two lines. At the cost increases, the profit starts falling. When the sharer line meets the ceiling line, it is the PTA. At PTA, the PTA cost is $350,000 and profit is $10,000. PTA price is $360,000 as we saw in the graph. Beyond PTA, the profit will dramatically decrease and will turn into loss. When actual cost equals the ceiling price, the profit is 0. Beyond that, profit is negative and the seller is making loss, or it is at a 0:100 sharing ratio. So this is the sharer line and this is the ceiling line. Wherever the sharing line and the ceiling line are meeting, it is your PTA point here. So if you look at the sharing line, the slope is bigger, shorter compared to the ceiling line. The ceiling line is steeper. So ceiling line means at this point the ceiling price has been met, and the ceiling line means the sharing ratio will be 0:100%.